I'd been in love with Stella Vance for 10 years, and I was finally getting my wish. I was going to marry her. A month before the wedding, she said she had to go overseas for a work trip. I happily agreed and started handling all the wedding preparations myself. 7 days before the wedding, I was scrolling online and came across a video. An influencer was having a wedding with his girlfriend at the foot of a snowy mountain. His girlfriend was Stella. I was scrolling through Instagram and saw a viral post. Breakup countdown, day 7. Welcome to our wedding. The creator had uploaded a video. There were vast, rolling hills of pristine white snow, a path strewn with fresh flowers, echoing with cheers and blessings. A bride in a poofy, dream-like wedding dress, more beautiful and pure than the fresh snow. And though his face wasn't shown, a handsome man stood behind her like a knight, watching over her in silence. Paired with a sacred yet slightly melancholic background score, it could have been called the perfect wedding. Commenters in the replies were emotional, so tragic. He can't be with her, so he's throwing a wedding for her. The creator liked that comment. In the post, he described in greater detail the preparations they had made for the wedding. She personally picked out his suit and designed the venue. She handled all the tedious little tasks herself. Even though she didn't like it, she patiently posed for wedding photos with him, just to give him the most authentic and complete experience. I felt a pang of envy. I unlocked my phone. The pinned chat conversation was still quiet. Looking at the screen, almost all the message bubbles were green. The last message I sent was 3 hours ago. I had asked her when she was coming back. Maybe it was the time difference. She hadn't replied. The video looped over and over. The more I watched, the more I felt that the bride's every move was strangely familiar. A bit like Stella. While I was lost in thought, a few different voices appeared in the comments. I don't get it, what does this mean? A countdown to a breakup? A helpful user stepped in to explain. The creator and his girlfriend were childhood sweethearts. They were separated for a long time, and right after they reconnected, she found out she had to marry someone else. They can't let each other go, so they agreed to have a 30-day romance to give each other one last perfect memory. So he's the other man, right? Why put it so nicely? Don't talk if you don't know anything. Just look at the creator's past posts. The girlfriend isn't doing it willingly, she's being forced by her family. The creator and his girlfriend are a tragic pair, both being sacrificed for a business alliance. They're in love but can't be together. A string in my head twanged. A cold, clammy sweat broke out in my palms. My fingers moved before my mind did, tapping on the creator's profile. I started from the very first post and read carefully. Over the past month, they had gone camping, snorkeling, and skydiving, chasing waves on the beach, picking out gifts for each other at an open-air market, watching a midnight movie, and taking a cuddled-up photo on a deserted moonlit street. The creator was careful to protect his girlfriend's privacy and almost never filmed her face directly. But happiness always leaves a trail. In the latest behind-the-scenes video of the wedding prep, there was a fleeting shot of a woman's hand. She was wearing an enamel Patek Philippe. Her fingers were slender, her wrist pale, with a faint scar. With just one look, I knew it was Stella. In the clip, the creator's girlfriend. No, it was Stella. Stella's hand picked through a selection of flowers, finally choosing a bouquet of white lilies of the valley. She pulled out a single stem, trimmed it carefully, and gently pinned it to the lapel of his suit. The watch on her wrist reflected a cold glint of light. It was like an arrow of light, stabbing me right in the eyes. The pain was sharp and spread through my whole body. That Patek Philippe was the engagement gift I gave Stella. When she had put the watch on, she had solemnly promised she would cherish it and wear it often. I slowed my breathing and laughed at myself. Stella hadn't broken her promise after all. She hadn't even taken off the watch while planning a wedding with her so-called childhood flame. Emotions churned in my chest, and I closed my eyes. The closer the wedding got, the busier Stella's work became. She was traveling for work constantly, disappearing for 3 or 5 days at a time. In recent weeks, she had used the excuse of following up on the European market to stay overseas for an extended period. I could easily recall how she had reassured me, Things are a little crazy now, but after the wedding, I'll go on a honeymoon with you. You can pick the time and place, it's all up to you. I had been completely lost in the overwhelming joy of finally marrying Stella. I'd ignored all the obvious red flags. Until now, it was like I had been walking blindfolded, and someone had suddenly ripped the cloth from my eyes. I abruptly realized that what I thought was a fairy tale castle was actually the edge of a cliff. The feeling of stepping into thin air pulled my heart down into a free fall. My phone screen lit up, went dark, and lit up again. I glanced over just as a new message popped up. Mr. Grant, which of these centerpieces do you think would be best for the wedding? It was followed by a string of pictures. I opened the message. The wedding planner was still diligently double-checking details in the group chat. I scrolled up. Stella had never sent a single message in the group. Not once. It was as if this wedding had nothing to do with her. All she had to do was show up on the day. I took a deep breath. The resolve that had kept me moving forward blindly dissipated with it. I typed out, word by word, no need to choose. The wedding is canceled. We're not getting married. In the group chat, the wedding planner sent a series of shocked emojis. She anxiously asked what I was unhappy with, saying they could make adjustments. Her cautiousness reminded me of how I used to be when I first came to the Vance family, desperately trying to please Stella and her father, Mr. Vance. I sent a few apologetic messages to comfort her. Then I left the group chat without another word. The planner, Heather, sent me a shaky private message. Mr. Grant, don't worry. Even though the wedding is off, we'll still take care of all the follow-up arrangements. Follow-up? I sent her a private 6-figure payment and asked her to handle the rest. As I was doing it, my finger slipped and the phone jumped back to the previous page. The post was no longer available. I typed the username from memory. Still nothing. The account had been deleted. For a moment, I almost thought the whole thing had been a hallucination. At almost the same instant, a call from Stella came through. I stared at her bouncing profile picture. After a long moment, the call ended. Her messages flew in one after another. Leo, what kind of game are you playing? Answer the phone. What do you mean we're not getting married? What does that mean? Say something. So it wasn't a time difference. She just didn't want to reply to me. Realizing that, I simply turned off my phone. On my desk, there was still a photo of Stella and me. In the photo, I was in my cap and gown, my face half hidden behind a bouquet of sunflowers, my eyes fixed on her with adoration. Unlike the mature and composed woman she was now, the younger Stella, who couldn't hide her emotions well, had a stern expression, as if she were reluctant to be there. But her hand was resting gently on my shoulder. I lowered my gaze, picked up the photo, and tossed it into the trash. Back at our villa, I thought I'd be tossing and turning all night. But maybe because I'd already made up my mind, I was free of my worries and actually got a rare good night's sleep. My refreshed, good mood lasted only until I went downstairs the next morning. A silent figure stood quietly next to the living room sofa. Hearing the noise, Stella turned around. Maybe it was the red-eye flight, but she looked exhausted, her eyes bloodshot. But when she saw me, she couldn't help but let out a sneer. You've turned the world upside down, and you had the nerve to get some sleep. I forced myself to be patient. You should get some rest first. We can talk about whatever it is after you've slept.
Stella scoffed dismissively.
She walked straight toward me, backing me up step by step until my back was against the wall and she had me trapped. I looked down at her, her cool scent washing over me. I held my breath, feeling an uncomfortable urge to push her away and create some distance. Stella didn't seem to care. Her gaze roamed over my face. After a moment, she said playfully, "What is it this time? What have I done to displease you now?" I turned my head away, forcing myself to stay calm. I spoke. "Stella, let's call off the engagement. You'd have the heart to do that?" Stella looked like she'd heard a joke, her expression flippant. Besides, my dad would never agree. After all, she drew out her words, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "You're my dad's perfect choice for a son-in-law. You agreed when we got engaged." I reminded her. Dating, getting engaged, setting the wedding date. Through it all, Stella was never enthusiastic, but she never resisted either. so I naively thought that she must like me at least a little bit. I never said I wouldn't marry you, Stella said with a half smile. You're the one calling off the wedding now. Leo, what exactly are you trying to do? She studied me, as if trying to find the answer in my expression. The wedding? I felt a laugh building inside me. Didn't you already have one? Stella froze for a second. Then it dawned on her. Oh, so that's what you're angry about. No guilt. No surprise. No denial. She even looked at me with a hint of novelty. It was just a small ceremony. It doesn't mean anything. Ethan said he wanted to hold a symbolic wedding for himself and asked me to play along. Is that really worth being jealous over? That was her explanation. I couldn't quite put a finger on what I was feeling. I paused, then spoke in a calm voice. My wedding with you is also just a small ceremony. It doesn't mean anything either. Since you don't sincerely want to marry me, it's better to call it off now. You don't have to worry about your dad. I'll handle it. But Stella misunderstood my meaning. She stared at me for a while, the emotion in her eyes slowly turning cold. With a hint of malice, she reached out and touched my earlobe. Leo, so that's your game. My mistake. We'll go to City Hall today and get the license. That will secure your position as the Vance family's son-in-law. You should be happy now, right? The spot she touched burned with a searing pain that spread from my earlobe through my whole body. The hairs on my arms stood on end. Maybe the disgust on my face was too obvious. Stella lost control of her expression and her face suddenly went cold. Are you disgusted by my touch? Leo? Everything you wanted, haven't I given it to you? You have money, you have status. What else are you not happy about? She looked like she had discovered something hilarious. You can't possibly expect me to love you, can you? I slapped Stella across the face. The crisp sound echoed endlessly in the quiet space. Stella's head snapped to the side from the blow, and she stumbled back a step, looking at me in disbelief. I stood there, numb. A tingling numbness spread from my forearm to my fingertips. A burning, stinging pain crawled up my cheek. She was the one who got hit, but I was the one who felt humiliated. I felt sorry for the old Leo. When I was 16, my mother, who was my whole world, died overnight. While I was still drowning in the grief of losing my only family, Mr. Vance found me. He said he had been a close friend of my mother's and offered to support me through college. He invited me to stay at the Vance estate. Stella was indifferent to my arrival. For a while, I thought she just didn't like me, so I tried even harder to please her in every way. Until one day, rumors about me started spreading at school. Things like how I was using the Vance family as a stepping stone to find a buyer for myself, or how I was supposedly their ward but was actually being raised to be their future son-in-law. The gossip reached Stella's ears. She warned a few of the girls who had been talking trash. After that, our relationship became much closer. We went to school together, came home together, and attended all sorts of tutoring sessions together. Stella's mother had passed away early. Mr. Vance single-handedly supported the massive Sterling Corp. Though he was busy, he spared no expense in cultivating Stella's abilities in every area. Thanks to her, I also started to explore fields I had never touched before. Unlike my fumbling efforts, Stella was always at ease. The first time she taught me to ski, no matter how she instructed me, I was too stiff to move my legs. She was both angry and exasperated. How come everyone else gets it right away? But you're so dumb. I pursed my lips, shook her off, and started trudging back. She gently tugged on my ski pole. A look of resignation was on her face. You have such a temper. Fine, I was wrong. I'll make sure you learn today. As the sun was about to set, I finally managed to make my first snowplow turns. I excitedly turned my head to show off. In the distance was a magnificent, fiery sunset, the orange-red hues seeming to set half the sky ablaze. Stella was standing quietly behind me. In that moment, I clearly heard the sound of my own heart falling for her. So I worked even harder. I wanted to become someone Mr. Vance and Stella would approve of. Even more, I wanted to become someone important to them. For a time, I thought I had succeeded. Until one day, I overheard a conversation between Stella and her friend. Her friend teased, "How come I don't see your little shadow following you today?" Stella's voice wasn't as calm as usual if you listened closely. You could even hear a hint of disgust. Don't call him that. After a pause, she added, he's not worthy. Logically, I knew she was right. While I was struggling to correct my English pronunciation and trying to get through introductory finance textbooks, Stella was already confidently holding a wine glass, following Mr. Vance and chatting happily with guests. Swimming, diving, skiing, rock climbing, racing, equestrianism, she dabbled in everything. The gap between Stella and me was a chasm of status, class, and experience. But emotionally, being told I was unworthy by the person I secretly loved still left me feeling bitter, humiliated, and ashamed. So when Mr. Vance asked if I wanted to stay in the country with him or go abroad to study with Stella, I chose to stay. When Stella found out, she cornered me at my bedroom door. She was furious. Leo, will you do anything my dad asks you to? Are you that desperate to please my dad? Are you really in love with me, or just the Vance family's money? After she said that, she threw something on the floor and mercilessly ground it under her shoe. Take it back. Your affection is cheap. I don't want it. The door slammed shut. A long time later, I slowly walked over. On the empty hallway floor lay a shoddily made stuffed doll. The kind you see in every claw machine. When Stella had snatched it from my hand, she had awkwardly said that whenever she saw the doll, she would think of me. Now, the doll lay there, covered in dust, its face still plastered with a fawning smile. Against the backdrop of the shoe prints, it looked even more ridiculous. I was a bit drained when I got to the office. My assistant brought me coffee. Ms. Vance is actually in the office today, but she looks terrible. Did something happen? The black coffee tasted bitter in my mouth. I shot him a look. Do you not have enough work to do? He immediately straightened up. The head of Oratech will be here in half an hour for a meeting. It turned out to be someone I knew. When he saw me, the man who was already seated stood up again, extended his hand, and introduced himself.
Hello, I'm Ethan Chen.
As we shook hands, I could feel my fingertips were cold and slightly trembling. Ethan winked at me. You must be Stella's fiancé, right? Stella has told me about you. Actually, Stella and I grew up together. If I hadn't gone abroad with my dad when I was 15, we could have met a long time ago. Who knows, we might have even become good friends. No wonder he said in his post that he and Stella were childhood sweethearts. It turned out my arrival had just filled the spot he had left vacant. For a moment, a whirlwind of chaotic and absurd thoughts flashed through my mind. I pulled my hand back. We're on a tight schedule. Let's get down to business. Ethan looked disappointed and said to someone behind me, Stella, your fiancé is so serious. Stella walked past me, glancing at me intentionally as she did. The broad strokes and framework of the collaboration had already been decided. This meeting was just to go over the terms and details one more time. As we were about to wrap up, Ethan suddenly asked, Is there any room to negotiate on the profit margin? I was a little surprised. Mr. Chun, do you have an objection? Ethan rested his chin on his hand. As you know, my dad used to run Oratech and I just took over, so I'm not too clear on the ins and outs of all this. But Oratech's scale is different from a few years ago. I'm afraid it wouldn't be appropriate to stick to the old model, right? Stella, what do you think? He turned his head to look at Stella. But Sterling Corp's partnership with Oratech has always... Times have changed, Ethan interrupted me. Now that Stella is in charge of Sterling, things will naturally be different from when Mr. Vance was at the helm. I don't know which of his words struck a chord with Stella, but after a moment of thought, she actually nodded. I'll consider it. I was about to speak up, but Stella shot me a warning glance. Ethan closed his laptop. You two can discuss this privately later. Just get me a result as soon as possible. With the business done, he curved his lips into a smile. Stella, lunch together? He turned to me, not bothering to hide the victorious look on his face. Would you like to join us, Mr. Grant? Speaking of which, he looked me over carefully. I can't shake the feeling that we're kindred spirits. His assistant chimed in, Mr. Grant, and you do have a similar look, sir. That's enough, Ethan said, feigning a reprimand. I kept a straight face. I have other work to do. I won't be joining you. Stella followed me into my office. As she approached my desk, she frowned. Where's our photo? You can't agree to Ethan's terms. We spoke at the same time. Stella raised an eyebrow. Leo, it's after office hours. She looked down and fiddled with her phone. The phone in my hand vibrated twice. I picked it up and saw that she had added me back to the wedding planning group chat. Heather, the planner, sent a confused question mark. Stella, the wedding is back on. Don't cancel. She produced a velvet box from somewhere. Inside was a men's ring with a simple, understatedly luxurious design, with tiny diamonds set into the inner band. Stella pushed the ring toward me. You mentioned wanting to go to Antwerp a while ago. I happened to be passing through a few days ago, and I think you'll like this one. What a coincidence. I had seen this ring in Ethan's post. He wrote that he and his girlfriend had been visiting Antwerp and had found a piece of jewelry they loved. She asked me what I thought of this ring. I told her the design was too conservative, like something an old man would wear, and it made her laugh. It was so strange. I had only seen it once, but I could recall every word. Did Ethan help you pick it out? Stella was a little surprised but admitted it. Yes. You know, I'm not good at picking these things. Her voice trailed off as I tossed the ring into the trash. Her face darkened, and her tone was sharp. Leo, what is wrong with you now? I thought I made myself clear this morning. Meeting her gaze, I repeated, I want to call off our engagement. You can marry whoever you want, it has nothing to do with me. What are you so upset about? Stella asked, completely baffled. You were the one who proposed marriage. You were the one my dad chose. I agreed. What more do you want? I was exhausted. Then just assume I regret it. Regret it? The wedding is just a few days away. Guests are already arriving, and you're regretting it now? Stella's voice was grim. I let out a laugh. You can still have the wedding. You'll just have to swap out the groom. I offered the suggestion sincerely. A strange expression flickered across Stella's face. What do you mean? I was glad I had saved Ethan's post. I handed her my phone, and Stella read it intently. A moment later, she relaxed completely. Even her voice sounded a couple of shades lighter. I didn't know Ethan posted all that. You don't have to explain to me. I cut her off. It has nothing to do with me. I looked her straight in the eye. Stella, for your dad's sake, let's not make this too ugly. Whether it's Ethan or someone else, if you like them, you should feel free to pursue them. I don't think your dad would object either. How generous of you. Stella didn't seem happy. She paced back and forth in the room like a caged animal, full of anxiety. After a while, she stopped in front of me, adopting a look of concern. If you don't marry me, who else will you find? If you leave the Vance family, leave me, you might not find anyone with better prospects. She had the capital to be arrogant. But that's my business, and it has nothing to do with you. Another long silence. Stella finally moved. The air stirred, leaving only her back and a stiffly spoken sentence. You can explain it to my dad yourself. I'm not getting involved. Before I pushed open the hospital room door, I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. Mr. Vance lay frail and quiet on the hospital bed. The once unyielding titan of the business world was now barely clinging to life with the help of expensive drugs and nutritional IVs. It would be a lie to say it wasn't hard to see. I tiptoed to his bedside. As I looked down, I was startled to meet a pair of dark eyes. Mr. Vance. My heart skipped a beat, and my expression froze. Mr. Vance closed his eyes. You're a grown man, getting startled so easily. Not steady at all. I steadied my pounding heart. Are you feeling any better today? Mr. Vance struggled to sit up. He wouldn't let me help. The simple movement left him gasping for air. You should be preparing for the wedding. What are you doing here? I hesitated, unable to get the words out. Mr. Vance waited for a few minutes. I heard you want to call off the engagement with Stella? The hospital room was silent. So silent that every word Mr. Vance said hammered into my ears, weighing me down until I could barely stand. Leo, you are my chosen son-in-law. You came to the Vance family when you were 16, and I can honestly say I have never mistreated you. I wouldn't feel at ease entrusting Stella to anyone but you. Just consider this me calling in a debt. It took him a great effort to say just a few sentences. After you two get married, live well together. Then I can pass on peacefully. The air filled with a suffocating silence. It was like being held underwater. The oxygen grew thinner and thinner. With every breath, my lungs ached from the pressure. I took a heavy breath. I'm sorry, Mr. Vance. Can't marry her. Why? Mr. Vance's voice was very soft. Stella has feelings for you. I can see it. And you've always liked her. Getting married is a happy ending for everyone. What's not to like? That was in the past, Mr. Vance. Now, the hospital room door was thrown open with a bang. Stella stood in the doorway, her face ashen. Startled, Mr. Vance clutched his chest. His gaze shifted back and forth between me and Stella before he waved a weary hand. Forget it. Your wings have grown strong. My words don't matter anymore. I don't want to deal with this mess. Whether you get married or break up, you two figure it out yourselves. Stella dragged me forcefully out of the room. Standing in the hallway, she hissed at me in a low voice. Leo, there's a limit to this nonsense. How dare you actually come to my dad with this? I straightened my clothes, which she had wrinkled during the struggle. Stella, when are you going to understand what I'm saying? I've told you 1,000 times that I'm calling off our engagement. Did you think I was joking? Or maybe, I glanced at her sideways. Intentionally provocative, you can't bear to leave me? As if I had stepped on a sore spot, Stella's voice jumped an octave. I can't bear it. Leo, you really know how to flatter yourself. Who do you think you are? Without the Vance family, you're nothing. A nurse hurried over, whispering for her to keep her voice down. Stella pressed her lips together tightly, her dark eyes fixed on me. I smiled. In that case, I guess we've reached an agreement. Let's just forget about the wedding. Leo, you'd better not regret this. As I turned to leave, I heard Stella's voice, full of gritted teeth. Regret? Walking out of the hospital, I looked up at the azure sky. It was vast, high, and boundless. My only regret was being soft-hearted enough to agree to marry Stella in the first place. Stella had revoked all of my access permissions in the company's system. Standing in the company lobby, unable to even swipe through the security gate, I was a bit stunned. Mr. Grant, why are you just standing here? A familiar figure glided over. Ethan, carrying a briefcase, glanced over my shoulder at the security gate and smiled knowingly. Is there some kind of misunderstanding? I happen to have some business with Stella. Why don't you come with me? He pulled a long-term visitor card from his suit pocket and beeped it open. Seeing my eyes fixed on the card, he explained with a smile. Stella said we'd be interacting frequently from now on, so this makes things more convenient for me. In the elevator, Ethan complained, half-jokingly, "You're looking great, Mr. Grant." Stella was in a bad mood for some reason last night and dragged me out drinking until late. I'm still not quite over it. I glanced at him and nodded in agreement. It shows. Your face is puffy, your skin is dull, your pores are huge, and your dark circles are obvious. You really should get some rest. Ethan's fake smile froze on his face. I looked away. You seem to be in a bad mood, Mr. Grant. After a few seconds, Ethan was back to his usual self, boasting softly. Is it because Stella is calling off the engagement? Or because she's put a stop to your work? I guess it's hard to be in a good mood when both your love life and career are in shambles. But I'm different. I came here today to sign a new contract with Stella. She promised to give us another 5% off in the new deal. I couldn't help myself. Is Stella out of her mind? Ethan looked at me innocently. On the elevator display, the numbers ticked up slowly. I gradually calmed down. I saw the posts you made. Mr. Chun, I don't know what your goal is, but if I were you, I wouldn't try to provoke me right now. After all, I have to step aside to make way for you two tragic lovers. And one more thing, starting a business is easy, keeping it is hard. You and Stella are so impulsive, selfish, reckless, and childish. I have serious doubts about how long Auratech and Sterling Corp will last in your hands. The elevator doors opened at that exact moment. Outside, Stella stood with an unreadable expression. Ethan's face changed, and he hurried to her side. He was about to speak, but Stella cut him off coldly. Where's security? Are they just letting any riffraff in here now? The assistant behind her looked uncomfortably at her, then at me. No need to rush me out. I stepped out of the elevator. I'm here to resign. The moment I decided to call off the engagement with Stella, I had also made up my mind to leave Sterling Corp and the Vance family for good. While I was packing my things in the office, Stella leaned against the doorframe with her arms crossed. Her tone was lazy. Be careful what you take. Don't accidentally pack any confidential documents. My hands paused for a moment. Having second thoughts? I guess it makes sense. After all, you've been my dad's lapdog for so many years, clawing your way up to this position. Stella spoke slowly and deliberately. Too bad Sterling Corp doesn't need an outsider like you meddling in its affairs. I lowered my eyes. It seemed Stella would never learn how to speak kindly. When she was unhappy, she had to make everyone around her unhappy too. Back when I still loved her, I was often hurt by the casual malice she'd let slip. Now that I didn't love her anymore, hearing her say such thoughtless things just made me find her tiresome. I earned this position with my own abilities, which is better than you just using Sterling Corp to do favors. You should be more careful not to let your father's life's work crumble in your hands. I dropped what I was holding. There's nothing here worth packing. You don't need to watch me. I started working for Mr. Vance in my sophomore year of college. I had rotated through every department at Sterling Corp, working my way up from the most junior positions to having my own office. I could say with a clear conscience that I had done right by Sterling Corp and Mr. Vance. The one thing I was grateful for was the very handsome salary and bonuses Mr. Vance had given me. At least I wouldn't have to worry about money for the rest of my life. You know what, Leo? Stella's face darkened. The thing I hate most is that superior attitude you have, just like my dad. So what? I didn't care. We're never going to see each other again. Why should I care what you like or hate? Stella sneered. A tactical retreat? Where else can you go besides New York? Before leaving New York, I visited Mr. Vance in the hospital one last time. When he heard I was leaving, he was silent for a long time before sighing softly. Go. You've done more than enough all these years. It's Stella who has no luck, who doesn't know how to cherish what she has. One day she'll regret it. You take care of yourself. Mr. Vance closed his eyes, a silent farewell. I didn't know where I could go. All my memorable years had been spent in New York. Most of that time was spent chasing the approval of Mr. Vance and Stella. Stella had so fiercely occupied the most important places in my life, as family and friend, that there was no room for anyone else. Looking back, I was shocked at how barren my past experiences had been. I chose Portland as the first stop on my journey, my mother's hometown. Before the plane took off, I received a call from an unknown number. The person on the other end didn't speak. There was only the sound of empty wind in the receiver. There was no doubt who was calling. I hung up without hesitation. The first thing I did after landing was get a new phone number. After traveling all over the country, I still chose to return to Portland. I bought a small waterfront house and opened a modest pottery studio, selling some handcrafted items. The teacher who taught me the basics said that clay is very forgiving. No matter what mistakes you make, clay always gives you a chance to start over. Watching a soft lump of clay slowly transform into a hard vessel, I felt like I was regaining the courage to take control of my own life. Maybe I got lucky. One of my ceramic designs became a small hit. The studio gradually built up a stable clientele. The next time Stella called was 6 months later. I was waiting for a kiln of figurines to finish firing. The sky was not yet light, with a sliver of dawn showing on the edge of the indigo sky. The world was still asleep. It made the voice on the other end of the line sound as soft as a whisper. Leo, I have no family left. I took the earliest flight back to New York. Stella sent a driver to pick me up. As soon as I got in the car, the driver handed me a food container. Ms. Vance specifically asked Chef Bruku to make you breakfast according to your old preferences. Please have some. The container was warm to the touch, a faint aroma seeping from the seams. I had no appetite, so I set it aside. In just a year, the once familiar streets now seemed a bit strange. I sighed and, meeting the driver's curious glances in the rearview mirror, I asked, "How is Stella now?" She's very heartbroken. The driver opened up, chattering on. He went from her work situation over the past 6 months to how she had stayed outside the operating room all night without sleep when Mr. Vance's condition was critical. He nearly gave me a minute-by-minute account of her daily schedule. But with you here to accompany her, she'll definitely get through it. I listened distractedly. Stella told you to say all this, didn't she? He abruptly stopped talking, a look of embarrassment on his face. As we drove down a street, he let out a long sigh and mumbled, "Actually, the day you left New York, Ms. Vance went to the airport to see you off. She pushed off all her work and sat at the airport for a whole day. Every time someone came out of the terminal, she thought it was you, having changed your mind. She even asked me if you had really left. I've been driving for her for so many years, Mr. Grant. I've never seen her like that. Actually, she really cares about you." I was non-committal. The driver worked for Stella. It was only natural for him to side with her. But the words he said didn't stir a single ripple in my heart. Does Stella care about me? Perhaps. But that kind of caring was more like the melancholy that comes after a habit is broken. It's like when a favorite tool suddenly goes missing. Every time you need it, you can't help but think how much better it would be if that tool were still there. But life doesn't stop just because a tool is gone. The car slowly pulled over by the side of the road near the funeral home. I turned my head and saw Stella standing not far away. Her head was bowed, her unkempt bangs covering her eyes. The well-tailored women's suit she wore was wrinkled and hung limply on her body after a long night. She was like a dense black cloud, enveloping her from head to toe. Hearing the car, she looked up and then took a few small running steps in my direction. I pushed open the car door. The moment she saw me, Stella paused. After a moment, she walked over, step by step. "You're here." She lowered her eyes, her tense voice betraying a subtle choke. Now that she was closer, I realized she was much thinner than before. She had the haggard look of someone recovering from a long illness. "My condolences," I said in a low voice. Stella's eyes instantly turned red. As if she couldn't bear it any longer, she stepped forward and threw her arms around me. I froze in shock. Just as I was about to push her away, Stella buried her head in my neck, her back arching as she trembled slightly. A wet, warm liquid soon soaked the shoulder of my clothes. Stella's emotions came on fast and went just as quickly. She soon let me go. Though the corners of her eyes were still red, her expression was back to normal. "Sorry, I lost my composure a bit. It's okay. It's understandable." Stella smiled bitterly. "Leo, do you have to be so distant with me? Let's go." I avoided her gaze. "Everyone's waiting for you." Behind me, I thought I heard Stella let out an imperceptible sigh. After being bedridden for so many years, Mr. Vance's funeral arrangements had been prepared long in advance. The memorial photo had been chosen long ago. It was a picture of him in his youth. Even in black and white, you could see his vibrant energy. He had some of the charisma of the business titan I remembered. Stella forced herself to stay strong, receiving wave after wave of friends and family who came to pay their respects. By evening, she finally had a moment to spare. "Come on, I'll take you back to the old house to rest." Before I could refuse, she said, "You've been gone so long, and no one has lived in the house. Don't you want to go see it? Before my dad passed, he changed his will. There's something in it for you. Even if you want to cut ties with me, you have to wait until everything here is settled. Right?" I considered it for a few seconds and agreed. Stella visibly relaxed. She dismissed the driver and drove herself. The car was also different from the one this morning. It was the Cullinan she usually drove. I opened the door and fell silent. On the center console sat a familiar stuffed doll. Its childish style clashed with the polished wood interior. Following my gaze, Stella reached over and picked up the doll. "A while ago, when we were cleaning out the old house, the maid found this in the corner of your bookshelf." Her tone was nostalgic. "Leo, I can't believe you still kept this. I hadn't rested since morning, and my head was starting to ache. It's just some cheap junk. Keeping it just takes up space. You should throw it out." As the words fell, the car was plunged into dead silence. Stella's lips were pressed tightly together, her hands gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. The streetlights cast flickering shadows. In a passing flash, the pain in her eyes was starkly illuminated. I pretended not to see. The seats were soft, and as I was drifting off to sleep, I suddenly thought of something. By the way, from now on, don't have your assistant anonymously buy things from my studio. Stella shot me a flustered glance. You knew? It was just a guess. Not long after the studio opened, it received an order from New York. After that, whether there were new items or not, that address would regularly place orders for a fixed quantity. I sat up straight and turned slightly. Stella, is this your way of giving me charity? No. Stella rushed to deny it. Why would you think that? I never wanted to give you charity. I just wanted to offer you some help where I could. I don't need it. I smiled. The biggest help you could give me is to stop bothering me. This time, it was Stella's turn to pretend she hadn't heard. The old house hadn't changed much since I left. It was clear someone had been meticulously maintaining it. Standing under the porch, I felt a wave of emotion. There was a time you did poorly on a test and were afraid to go home, so you hid right here. A warm body pressed close from behind. I subtly created some distance. You were the one who came out to find me. Stella tilted her head up slightly. I watched you from the balcony for a long time. You were holding your report card, and your eyes were red. She looked like she was lost in a sweet, cherished memory. Then you looked at my score and laughed, saying that for how hard I studied, even a pig wouldn't have gotten a score that bad. Stella's horrified expression told me she didn't remember. I know you didn't mean it. After that day, Mr. Vance hired several additional tutors for me. The new teachers specialized in my weak subjects and were very good at adjusting their approach based on my feedback. Privately, one of them told me it was Stella who had given him the advice. How should I put it? Stella's kindness toward me was like a piece of candy hidden under layers of broken glass and sharp thorns. You had to endure heart-wrenching pain and bleeding hands just to taste that pitifully small bit of sweetness. Stella's face instantly turned pale. She turned and left in a hurry. Her panicked retreat could only be described as fleeing. After that, whenever she spoke, she was cautious and careful, as if afraid of stepping on another landmine. Perhaps her mind was elsewhere. When the maid served the soup, she failed to move out of the way in time. A large bowl of steaming fish maw and ginseng chicken soup spilled directly onto her forearm. The startled maid apologized profusely. Stella furrowed her brow, but she still remembered to ask me, "Leo, are you okay? Did you get burned?" I shook my head. I let out a heavy sigh in my mind. I just wanted to eat a quiet meal. Why can't I have any peace? So annoying. The moment that thought popped into my head, I froze. I could hear the sound of running water from the kitchen, but I sat there, feeling no desire to go and check on her. When Stella returned after applying burn ointment, her eyes were red. She sat down carefully next to me. On the back of her fair hand, a scar about the length of her little finger looked even more glaring under the ointment. It was a wound she had gotten while saving me. Perhaps her life as a student abroad was too exciting. For several years straight, Stella didn't return home. During my senior year, at Mr. Vance's suggestion, I went to find her to make peace. After not seeing each other for years, Stella had changed quite a bit. The reckless rebelliousness of her youth had been polished by time, gradually revealing a more refined and composed side. She didn't mention our past arguments and played the part of a dutiful host. On the last night of my trip, an accident happened. A riot suddenly broke out in the neighborhood where we were. In a state of extreme panic, everyone was crying and screaming, running in all directions. In the chaos, Stella and I were separated. I was surrounded by unfamiliar faces, the air filled with a mix of screams, excited shouts, and the sound of shattering storefront windows. On the verge of a breakdown, I suddenly saw Stella, her face anxious, a beacon cutting through the crowd, moving against the flow of people, walking steadily toward me. She grabbed my hand and held it tight. "Don't be afraid. Come with me." Even though her own hand was trembling slightly, I felt a sense of calm and squeezed her hand back tightly. It was a cold and chaotic night. We held hands, running through the panicked crowd, escaping. Just as we were about to leave the riot-torn street, A group of thugs looking to rob people in the chaos blocked our path. One of them had a knife. As the cold blade swung down at me, Stella reacted in a flash, raising her arm to block it for me. Just then, the sound of police sirens echoed nearby. They exchanged a look and reluctantly left. The next day, the media reported on the riot. Mr. Vance, extremely worried, called from overseas to check on us. I reassured him in a soft voice, while secretly looking around Stella's small apartment. It wasn't large, but it was exceptionally tidy. That made the few square foil packets scattered near the leg of the table exceptionally conspicuous. At first, I didn't realize what they were. When it hit me, I felt like all the blood in my body had frozen. I don't know what I said to Mr. Vance. I just mechanically replied, "Don't worry. I'll definitely talk to Stella as you said." The phone was snatched from my hand. In my ear, Stella's furious voice sounded distant and weak, as if filtered through frosted glass. "So that's why you suddenly came to see me. It was my dad's orders. Leo, oh Leo, you really are a loyal and devoted dog." She had used too much force, and her bandaged wound split open again, seeping a faint trace of blood. That time, we parted on bad terms. Stella didn't come home that year either. Meanwhile, Sterling Corp started losing market share due to a series of bad executive decisions. I stayed by Mr. Vance's side, accompanying him as he negotiated everywhere to turn the tide. Later, Stella returned after finishing her studies and took over Sterling Corp. Mr. Vance assigned me to work with her. Our seamless teamwork and professional collaboration helped us break the ice, and our relationship gradually grew closer again. Looking back from a distance, the conflicts that lay between Stella and me had never really disappeared. We just had an unspoken agreement to ignore them, thinking that would be enough to maintain the peace. I pulled myself out of the memories. My eyes met Stella's, which were full of melancholy. She gave a bitter smile. "You know, Leo, in the past, if you saw me get hurt, you would have rushed to treat my wound, scolding me for not being careful enough, and acting like it was the end of the world, insisting I go to the hospital. I probably would have had to comfort you and tell you it was no big deal, to stop your eyes from turning red." I smiled too. "Sounds pretty annoying." After a pause, I added, "and foolish." "Not foolish at all."
Stella retorted.
"I was the foolish one." Her voice was low and raspy. "I was so foolish I didn't dare admit I liked you. I was afraid you were only nice to me because I was Mr. Vance's daughter. When you said you wanted to marry me, I was truly happy. But there was a voice in my head constantly questioning whether you genuinely wanted to marry me, or if it was because my dad asked you to. I didn't dare ask you for confirmation, so I just ran far away. I never thought I would run into Ethan, and I certainly never thought he would post those things. Later, when you said you wanted to call off the engagement, I was furious and said a lot of hurtful things without thinking. That wasn't what I meant. But then you really left without a moment's hesitation. Leo, you have no idea how much pain I was in. We were so close to getting married. Whether you truly loved me or it was for some other reason, what does it matter, as long as you were by my side? Leo, I regret it. Come back. Come back to me. You're all I have left." She grabbed my hand desperately, her tear-filled eyes locked on mine. I had never seen Stella cry so miserably. Hot tears fell on the back of my hand, scalding me. I flinched, my fingers curling slightly. I slowly pulled my hand away. "Stella, you're just not used to it. You'll get over it. Even the deepest, most painful wounds will heal one day. That's how I got through it, bit by bit." Stella's eyes were red. "You still won't forgive me." I shook my head. "I don't blame you anymore," which meant there was nothing to forgive. I pulled out a few tissues and handed them to her. "You only feel resentment when you care, and you only feel hatred when you love. Stop talking." Stella covered her face, her voice muffled. "Let me finish," I said slowly. "After all, it seems like we've never really had a proper talk. And we won't have the chance again." "Stella, are you saying you never felt that I loved you?" I watched her turn her face away and laughed without realizing it. "I don't think so. You were just ashamed to admit that you could fall for someone you considered unworthy in every way. So you took advantage of my love and did whatever you wanted, trampling on my feelings time and time again. You tested the limits of my tolerance to confirm the purity of my love for you. You were so sure I would never leave you, so you were reckless. You said you didn't dare ask me for confirmation, so you ran away. You said nothing happened with Ethan, so you could jaunt around with him and hold a wedding without a shred of guilt. You called me a social climber, so you kicked me out of Sterling Corp without a second thought. Now that you're all alone, you say you can't live without me and want me to come back. Stella, the world doesn't revolve around you. You didn't understand that when you were 18, and you still don't understand it now? When Mr. Vance's will was read, Stella wasn't there. Her assistant attended on her behalf. In his will, Mr. Vance specifically left me the old family house and his personal collection of art and antiques. To my surprise, he also left me 3% of the shares in Sterling Corp. After signing the official documents, the lawyer politely stated that he would handle the corresponding procedures for me. On a whim, I suddenly said to Stella's assistant, actually, when you compare, Mr. Vance was pretty generous. The assistant pushed up his glasses and changed the subject. Ms. Vance also has some documents that require your signature. The villa we had bought for the wedding, Stella signed it over to me. On top of that, she also gifted me a commercial office building in Portland. Ms. Vance also said that the doors of Sterling Corp are always open for you. You can come back anytime. I don't think so. I declined politely. I poured my heart and soul into Sterling Corp for so many years. I'm tired. The assistant expressed his understanding. Then please keep these properties. Ms. Vance said to consider it compensation for your many years of work at Sterling. I thought about it and didn't refuse. As I walked out of the notary's office, a black car was parked in the shade of the trees by the road. The driver got out and opened the car door for me. The assistant spoke up at the right time. Ms. Vance heard you have a flight this afternoon and has already upgraded your seat. The driver will take you to the airport. No, thank you. I refused flatly. Tell Stella to stop making pointless efforts. The best relationship she and I can have is no relationship at all. If she has this much time on her hands, she should be thinking about Sterling Corp's next steps, so my stocks don't lose too much value. The assistant pondered for 2 seconds and gave a barely perceptible nod. The rideshare I had called arrived just then. Before I got in, the assistant called out to me. Mr. Grant, that set of scenic-themed dinnerware you fired was beautiful. Can I still order from your shop in the future? I laughed. You can, but Stella can't. The car slowly pulled away. In the rearview mirror, the assistant was still standing there. A figure emerged from the shadows and stood with him, looking in my direction from afar. I looked away. Their figures grew smaller and smaller, eventually disappearing from my world completely. White clouds floated outside the window. The car turned a corner, taking me on a new journey.